Once upon a time, you were thin or athletic. You didn't have to worry about your food, your body was always fit, until one day. Now, they say you have to go on a strict diet. But your friends eat a lot and don't get fat.
I don't know if this happened to you, but it can happen to anyone. I used to be thin, athletic, couldn't get over 150 pounds, and one day I was already 180 pounds. For me, it was too much. Despite I being a health professional and having created my own weight loss method, it didn't stop me from going through the same problems as anyone else. Of course, food and exercise are very important, but it doesn't explain everything. Medication and hormonal disorders can make us gain weight, but in most situations is not the cause as well. So, because we are very emotional creatures, in this video I want to focus in 3 points, in 3 reasons that are very important for our mindset.
It's easier to anyone to become addicted to something. We are driven and motivated by dopamine. Dopamine is a neuromodulator, a substance that we produce in the brain and adrenal glands and give us the motivation and energy to create and evolve. Without it, we would not have evolved as a species. It is also dopamine that makes us grow professionally, earn more, have more status, and in our personal life find the right person to live with. It is the secret force that motivates us, that keeps us from procrastinating. But dopamine also influences impulse and desire. Important to evolution, when misdirected, it can lead us to addiction. Marketing experts use this knowledge to get us hooked on products or activities. Ads for unhealthy food products cause dopamine to spike. It is that craving you feel when you see something tempting on the supermarket shelf. These products have a lot of sugar and other substances like chocolate that increase dopamine. In supermarkets, these products are placed at strategic points such as checkpoint boxes and corners. We are constantly harassed in the stores, streets, TV, internet for these products created for us to consume over and over again.
Because the dopamine system, also called reward system or mesocortical limbic pathway, is a very primitive system, is very animal system, is very difficult for us to control it, even for a monk. So how can a child control it if he's too young to understand what manipulation is? And the more dopamine is released, the more we need to raise the bar and get the same satisfaction. And so we go until we end up fat, tired, unmotivated, disorientated, with no pleasure in anything, even in social activities.
And since the problem never comes alone, other brain chemicals will go out of balance. Serotonin is related to well-being and happiness. Over time, it can decrease generating sadness. But our mind knows serotonin increases every time we eat. You know what's gonna happen, don't you? Endorphins decrease physical and mental pain. They can be increased artificially by eating sweets, sugary juice, and soft drinks. This can cause a greater addiction, an opium-like addiction, making it harder to stop ingesting them. When we get into the spiral, in addition to low levels of dopamine, we can also have low levels of serotonin and endorphins. It's not fair. We are being manipulated in our primitive brain, over which we have little control if we don't know how it works.
If we leave any of the situations I'll talk about in a second, knowledge may not be of any use. There are situations in life that will make our mind seek for dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, and may lead us to fall in temptation and struggle to get out of it.
Real separation or fear of separation. feeling excluded at work or in a social group, or fear of feeling excluded, feeling of not belonging to our family. We have been social animals for thousands of years, just like gorillas and chimps. We may enjoy being alone, which is fine, but we'll need social bonds because we are group animals. Our mind needs to feel that it belongs to a group. From an evolutionary point of view, thousands of years ago, or even tens of years ago, having a family or tribe was a sign of food, security, and reproduction. Being excluded could be a matter of life and death. Today, nothing has changed because we have the same brain and mind. The family, group of friends, and professional team represents groups that are important to our survival. Being excluded or feeling that one might be excluded generates fear but also neediness. This mix of emotions can generate impulse to artificially increase dopamine, whether by sex, drugs, or food. Neediness will bring emptiness, sadness, which is low levels of serotonin, and we'll spend more time eating. Or we may feel a lot of inner pain, that is, low levels of endorphins, and we'll eat more sweets and sugar, or a mix of everything. Some people may lose their hunger and stop eating, which could mean that they have lost the will to live. It usually tends to pass.
Who didn't gain weight during the pandemic lockdown? Many of us gained a few pounds due to inactivity, but there were those who gained dozens of pounds in a few months. Separation from the family and friends, isolation is very dangerous for humans, like it is for all social animals. In studies, baby mice separated from the mother gained more weight and were more likely to suffer from anxiety and depression. The same was observed in chimps, in children who went through parental divorce, and in adults as well.
Bullying. Bullying is a way of aggressively intimidating or dominating other people. It can be physical, verbal, it can happen at school, in relationships, at work, or in the internet, called cyberbullying. Several studies link bullying to weight gain. When we are threatened, like all animals, we activate a defense system called the survival response or the fight or flight response. When threat persists, unable to flee or fight the aggressor, we look for an alternative strategy that helps us to survive. One possible answer from an evolutionary perspective is to increase in size. If I weigh 200 pounds instead of 100 pounds, I might be able to fend off the attacker. Fear can lead to an instinctive response to increase appetite. In a 2019 study, children with anxiety disorder have higher levels of ghrelin. Ghrelin increases appetite. Surely, you'll become a more intimidating person, but this will generate a cascade of other health and social problems. The important thing for the mind is to push away the specific fear that has become unbearable. Bullying affects the dopaminergic system that I explained a little while ago, causing low motivation, low self-esteem, school problems. Many end up taking medication for ADHD.
Bullying can lead to dopamine disorders. Separation or fear of separation can lead to dopamine disorders. Dopamine disorders can lead to eating disorders. Addiction, low self-esteem, lack of motivation, procrastination. And the biggest problem is that if the wound or trauma is not relieved or healed, we'll not be able to lose weight because the mind will think that what was taken from us has not yet been returned to us. in the case of separation, or that is very dangerous to leave the protection mode in the case of bullying. We can try it, but sooner or later we'll sabotage the process.
We can stay like this for weeks, years, or decades, but we don't have to stay forever. We can reborn, we can feel safe again. For that, we need to take control of our dopamine. We have to face our wounds, embrace them, assume that they exist, and will be healed sooner or later. This is the first step. We can do it alone, but it's always better with the help of a therapist who can support us in this process.
What I've learned from scientific studies and my clinical experience was what I applied myself. This is me after losing weight last year with my little princess. Don't mess too much with food in the beginning. First, we need to have the mind on our side, otherwise there will be sabotage. Start first with your emotional healing. Now I will share with you my secret process to increase dopamine endorphin. It's a couple of routines that you can include in your life.
Limit the amount of time you spend on social media, video games, and TV. Limit the use of drugs like alcohol, tobacco, coffee. Accept that you will feel uncomfortable in the first weeks, but you will be much more unhappy if you don't do it and waste all your life. Make your home a temple and don't let in sweets, chocolates, and cookies. You can let in some dark chocolate. Always go to the supermarket with a full belly, for example after lunch. This way, you'll be more immune to dopamine harassment. Put a piece of dark chocolate in your mouth and let it melt slowly whenever you feel emotional hunger. Go to bed early and wake up early. Regulating sleep helps regulating ghrelin, the hunger hormone. In addiction, it prevents nocturnal hunger attacks. Start doing sports and do it every day, even if it's just walking. Engage only in physical activities you like, otherwise you will not produce more dopamine. If you don't like exercise, focus on something else, such as the results you will achieve each month. Do at least 3 times a week cold bath. You can do after a hot shower, but in the bathtub or in the sea is better. You can stay longer and that will raise your dopamine while stimulating the fat burning process. Surfing is a great option. Be with those who loves you and hold hands or hug. The hug gives back the sense of belonging and really fills the void unlike food. If you don't have friends, join a charity organization, emotional help groups, or local amateur theater group.
As you progress, you'll have more mental strength to control your diet. And of course, there are amazing food strategies to lose weight fast, but that's for another video. This one has come to an end. I hope I have broken some paradigms, guilds, or other ghosts. Thank you very much for your time and see you in the next video.